All right, we are live on the webinar. Hey, Sarah, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
It's great to see you. And hey, everybody that's on right now. It looks like we have 29 people logged into the webinar already, which is fantastic because we're right on time. It's 1:02. We're going to get started in about 6. So before we get started, just as a way to warm things up, if you can hear me, just say in the chat, yeah, I can hear you, because that feels really validating to me just before I get started, right? Yay! All right. Hey, Jessa. Hey, Smith, Rhonda, Dan. This is awesome. So, Beth, hey, Beth, how's it going? Beth is going to actually be joining us at the end for the Q&A. So I'm glad you can hear us too, Beth. So where are you tuning in from? Tell us where you're tuning in from. It helps us feel like we know who we're talking to. So I'm in Ithaca, New York. Sarah, where are you right now?
I'm in McMurray, Pennsylvania.
Nice. So we've got Oklahoma, Colorado, North Carolina, West Virginia, Nashville, San Francisco. Nice. This is awesome. Oh, look, Sai from Crowdcast is here. That's cool. Hey, what's up? Glad you could stop in. We love Crowdcast. So I'm going to power up the slideshow real quick. And wow, this is so cool. It's so cool to see the range of people that are tuning in. This is, one of the things that we're doing with Halt the Harm Network. One of the things that makes the network so exciting is the way that we can all connect from so many different regions and then share the projects that we're working on. And that's really the spirit of this, in a sense, is that we've got all these different projects that are happening in the network that we get to be inspired by, we get to learn from and exchange. And so that's part of what you're going to be getting from this. So let me just put my screen share on real quick. And I'm going to fire up the I'm going to get the slideshow started. Awesome. So, can you see the slideshow, Sarah?
Yes.
Great. Awesome. So as we get started, I'll just tell you a little bit about what you're going to get from today's presentation. You're going to see how EHP's Shale Gas and Oil Health Registry is tracking health impacts in shale and oil gas communities. Another thing that you're going to get from this presentation is learning how to get involved in documenting the health impacts of unconventional oil and gas development, aka fracking, and also learning how to utilize the Environmental Health Project's Shale Gas and Oil Health Registry. So welcome. My name is Ryan Clover. I'm part of Halt the Harm Network operations team. So I work within the website. I help people with their profiles, navigating the directory. And I'm really honored because I get to host these webinars with amazing projects that are going on and amazing people. So here's our lovely presenters today. Sarah Roberts, who does outreach for the registry with Environmental Health Project, and Beth Weinberger is going to be joining us at the end for a Q&A session, which we always do at the end of these short webinars. So stick around for that. She's the co-director of the registry, so perfect to have her involved in the Q&A. So some logistics. Today's discussion will be recorded, so if you have to leave or if your computer falls off your desk or something unpredictable happens, you can get the replay. My email address is ryan@halttheharm.net, so send me an email if you're having any trouble or anything like that. I'd be happy to help out. The chat is here to engage in real time, so we can actually take things in the chat, turn them into questions. We can, Beth, when it's time to come on screen, we can add you directly from the chat. So the questions area, which is right below the video, you'll see where it says Q&A, is for the questions. And the reason why you would put them there is because then when we're answering them, we get to timestamp the answer. So it creates sort of like a table of contents for everybody. So ask questions as soon as you have them. Just add them right into that area, and it'll queue up for the end of the presentation. So just the quick layout is we're going to talk about why the registry exists. We're going to demonstrate. Sarah's going to show you how it all works. And then the takeaways and the Q&A. That's sort of what's next. How do we apply that in our work? How do we take what we're learning here and use it to help protect our communities and stand up to this industry? So let's just jump right in. Sarah.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Sounds good.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna start then. All right. So the issue that we're addressing today is we've all likely struggled to convey the health impacts we believe are correlated with fracking. We may feel alone in our symptoms and frustrated with our lack of resources. We may struggle to track our health symptoms over time, and we may encounter physicians who don't know how to treat our fracking-related symptoms. You can go to the next slide, please. So part of the solution is the Environmental Health Project's Shale Gas and Oil Health Registry. It's a confidential and safe way to track health symptoms over time. This demonstrates patterns in health symptoms in frac communities, and this helps facilitate us at EHP in providing the most necessary resources to extraction communities. Next slide, please. So what is the Shale Gas and Oil Health Registry? It's for anyone living within 5 miles of any fracking activity. That includes pipelines, sand mines, any sort of truck traffic. It's national in scope, which is really important because, to my knowledge, we are the only fracking health-related registry that is national in scope. So we can try to see patterns on the national level rather than just within Pennsylvania. And there are questions regarding the symptoms, onset, duration, and severity of these symptoms. And it covers physical, social, and psychological stressors that may be associated with fracking. Okay, so I'm gonna walk y'all through a little demonstration now. So I'm gonna try to share my screen. So Ryan, tell me if it does not work. Let me see here. I'm trying to find the little box that I found earlier. Oh, there it is, okay. All right.
Great.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yeah, it looks good.
So, okay. So here is the main page of our website at environmentalhealthproject.org. And right here on the right-hand side is a link to join the Health Effects Registry. So you just click on that to find the page that will allow you to sign up. And I have created a account for myself, which, to clarify, we'll be taking this data out after this presentation so that we don't skew the data. But for the purposes of this presentation, I'm showing y'all how it works. So once you've registered, which there's a bit of a complicated registration process for some folks, because we do take confidentiality and privacy very seriously. So there are a couple steps in signing up, but it's not super difficult. So once you get signed in, this is what you'll see. And so if we click on Get Started, so you have to look at the so the format is that there are a series of these questions, and it will show you after you've answered what percentage of other people who've responded to the registry have answered similarly, which I think is really cool because it helps you see that other people are maybe experiencing similar patterns.
That's
so
really
this,
cool that you can
isn't it? Yeah. So you go through and you select all the things that might apply to you. Let's say that I just want to do these two for today. It's also important to note that you can start and stop at any time, and you can also go back and update your data at any time if you don't want to fill it out all in one setting. So you have to live within 5 miles of any shale gas or oil development. And so then it will ask you questions that get pretty detailed about various aspects of specifically what you live by. And then I'm going to get to some of the health symptoms here. There's also a few questions for those who have worked in the industry. So it asks questions about your water, if there's been any accidents. You can also skip questions if you so choose. Okay, and so it will ask you questions about if you've experienced changes in the air or water, health symptoms, psychological symptoms like stress, anxiety, sleep disturbances, reproductive health symptoms. I'm not going to go through all of this because there are a lot of questions, but I think you get the gist of what the health registry is. So can we go back to the slideshow?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I have to unshare my screen? Okay. Okay, so by joining the health registry, you can be a part of the larger research that's going on into the pattern of health effects affected by fracking. This allows researchers to try to document these patterns to influence positions and lawmakers. You can learn what others have been exposed to or their similar health symptoms, as I showed with the registry shows what percentage of participants have responded similarly. And when you register, you are able to receive a twice yearly newsletter update from us, which talks about the research we've done with the health registry, in addition to any other fracking health-related research that is new. So that is all of my slides. I guess if we've got any questions, we could go into that.
Great. Thanks for showing us how it works, just kind of on the back end, so you can see what the questions are. It's definitely. Beth, are you here? Can you still hear us? We're going to invite you on screen. And so Theodora says, cannot read the print, not focused. Sorry about that. Yeah, the resolution can sometimes be a little bit low on the broadcast, but the link will bring you right to it so you can walk through the registry. Great. Beth, we're going to bring you on right now. Almost like a little panel discussion. And this is great because we're right on time, and hey, welcome. So, how's it going, Beth?
Good, good. Glad to be here.
Good, we can hear you. So I can jump right into the questions because there's a few in the queue. So we'll just jump right in. Unless there's something you want to add first from what Sarah just provided. Great. So the first question comes from Ron. It says, will this also provide these services to people living within a mile of a massive oil refinery?
Well, this is if it's related to shale oil and gas. it would. If it's not shale related, then it's not, wouldn't be part of our registry, sadly.
Great. Carol said, providing this webinar, I look forward to learning even more about the effects of fracking and what to do to end it once and for all. My first question is about Winona Hodder's book, Frackopoly. Do you consider her research reliable? And if so, is it still current enough to cite at places such as town hall meetings, city council meetings, board of supervisors meetings, etc.?
I don't know that book. Do you, Sarah?
I have not read the entire thing. I've read some of it, and I am not a scientist, and I don't feel comfortable speaking to the validity of the research. So
there are quite a few papers in medical journals at this point that talk about the associations between fracking and health effects.
And also the second to last webinar that we did was about the Frac Health database. So that might be a resource for you as well, Carol. I'll drop it in the chat. So you can also look up Frac Health database from the Endocrine Disruption Exchange. The next question comes from Ron, says, oh, this is the same question. There we go, done. Dan says, do you have any way of inhibiting or avoiding malicious use of the database, such as false reporting by people or organizations who want to distort what you're trying to do?
We've talked to the people who run the platform that allows us to have the registry, and so that's an ongoing discussion. I think if we saw really strange patterns, we could pick up on that and hide some of that data. But that's a discussion, and it is a concern of ours.
Kim is asking, what if that 5-mile radius includes nearly your entire state? Should we start with the most impacted communities? What percentage of people need to be surveyed in order to provide relatively accurate data? Will analyzed, aggregated state or community-specific information be provided?
I don't know. So, I mean, I can keep answering. Sarah, do you want to jump in on any of these?
well, I can answer this one a little bit. I think that, as with, I would say, any research, the more participants we have, the more reliable our research is. And if your state is heavily affected, I don't see why we would not want your data. I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Would there be analyzed or aggregated state or community-specific information provided?
Yeah, I think once we have enough data, we can probably do that. Right now we can't because we don't have enough, but we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So Tammy's wondering, approximately how long would it take to complete if you answered all the questions?
Well, it takes, it says that it takes about 20 minutes. That depends on how many symptoms you want to report, because each symptom that you report that you have, it will ask you about 3 more questions about that symptom specifically. And it also depends on how sort of computer savvy you are. It can take over an hour for some folks, so it really just depends.
It gets long, a little bit long in the health effects section, because rather than just a yes or no question, we are interested in knowing how frequently you experience that symptom and whether it's become worse if you had it before fracking or whatever the activity is around you. If you had it before that started, has it gotten worse since the activity has started around you? So yeah, so it's a great amount of information that we'll have, but it does take a little extra time.
John is asking, what about tight sands wells that are fracked heavily?
If, again, anything that's related to shale would go in, and anything not related to shale, unfortunately, does not go in.
Kim Schultz is on the webinar. Kim is actually the one who did the Frac Health database. So, hey, Kim. And is asking, can someone who has signed a non-disclosure agreement fill out the registry link?
You know, That is a personal choice. I think from what I know from people, many people would not be comfortable doing that, but that's a legal question for people, and I don't want to weigh in on that. I mean, we'd love information, and we never share any contact information or personal information unless you've given permission. But that's probably something for the person to discuss with a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. And the form does allow you to submit information anonymously. Is that right?
Yeah, well, you have to sign up, but then you can opt not to have any of your information shared with anyone.
Gotcha. Cool. Lori is asking, are there other organizations represented such as ours, CCSEN or ccsenow.org, which is primarily concerned with health issues surrounding gas compressor stations?
So I'm sorry, what was the question part?
Are there other organizations represented?
Oh, in this webinar, maybe. Is that?
I'm not sure if they're asking about in the webinar or in general. So Lori, if you're here, feel free to jump in the chat and let us know, and we can.
And we definitely have people in the registry now who live near compressor stations, but not near anything else, not near wells, not near processing plants, dehydrators, just the compressor stations, if that helps.
Okay. Kim is asking, could you provide an example of a community that has undertaken this survey? How many people were interviewed? How many people did it take to interview them? How many volunteers did it take, etc.?
Well, it's sort of a one by one, but Sarah's been through the process a number of times recently, so she could probably speak to it better.
Yeah, so we don't have any per se entire community or community with a large enough population that's responded that I can really speak to that. A lot of my work here has been contacting individuals and families one by one and either having them come in or going to their homes to show them how to fill out the registry. So it can be done on your own. You don't have to have, obviously, one of us come out and help you with it. But if that makes people more comfortable, I think it's safe to say that we don't have the hugest sample size right now, which is part of why we're really trying to encourage people to fill out the registry so that the more people we have, the more compelling the data is, if that answers the question.
Great. So another question from Kim is, how do you know if your refinery pipeline is utilizing shale gas?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer. The person can email EHP info@environmentalhealthproject.org, and that message will eventually work its way to me, and I can look it up maybe if I can figure it out.
Great. Thank you. And Jim says, yes, thank you. Awesome. Now, Jim is asking, are there any baseline health studies for any community prior to the advent of the gas infrastructure in the community? There's a compressor station being built in our neighborhood.
Yes. EHP is working with a number of communities in New York State where there are compressor stations being expanded, and some where there are no compressor stations, but there's compressor stations going in. So they've done baseline health and air monitoring, and then they will do the same thing after the compressor stations are online or after there's an expansion and the compressor station is back up and running. So we don't have that completed yet, but we're on the way.
Cool. And Dan is saying, I'm part of a small team contemplating putting together air quality monitoring stations along the heavily fracked Colorado Front Range. What we've found so far is taking measurements of methane, ozone, or other VOCs is extremely expensive. I know there are inexpensive particulate sensors available, but we'd be interested in learning whether you have found any relatively inexpensive ways to monitor any of the pollutants like ozone, methane, or VOCs.
Yeah, the monitors we use are called SpecMonitors, SPECK, and they are developed at Carnegie Mellon University. They're sort of in between models right this minute, so I'm not sure if there's any available. There might be, but there are a number of, I believe, there's a number of other monitors that are in the sort of $200 range. So not crazy expensive, but expensive enough that it's difficult when you want to monitor at a bunch of places.
Mm-hmm. But
we've used the SpecMonitor.
Great. Rhonda's asking, does this registry include the Tennessee gas pipeline by Kinder Morgan Company that is in Nashville, Tennessee?
Yeah, I would think so, because I think that gas is coming from the shale.
Great.
So yeah.
And just so everybody has the link, I'm adding a button right here at the bottom of the webinar. You'll see where you can join the registry. So you can use that to do that after the webinar is over and see it for yourself as well. And Dan says, regarding Jim's question about baseline research before fracking starts, Boulder County has been monitoring air quality for about a year now. I'll post a website to the chat that shows the data being monitored. Mm-hmm. So great, awesome. That's exactly what the chat is for. Thanks, Dan. John says, how can I find where fracking structures are? Wells, compressor stations, etc. in Pennsylvania. How can we find out where they are?
Frac Tracker is a great resource for finding wells. I think compressor stations are a little more difficult, but they have them marked on their maps. And I don't know about the other parts of the infrastructure, but Frac Tracker is a good place to start.
Absolutely. And can you provide a link for the SpecMonitors?
No. Not off the top of my head, but
I'll provide a link for it as we're starting to wrap up. Yeah.
Spec censored, maybe.
Got it. Here we go.
Oh, good.
Oh, thanks, Jessa. Awesome. So great. So awesome. If there's any final questions, get them in. But we are right on time, which is great because these are short and sweet trainings so that we can meet each other, so we can connect. There's a bunch of really good links in the chat as well. It looks like Tammy dropped some links in there. CSR with research. We've got the endocrinedisruption.org. We've got Frac Tracker. So yeah, we're really building our network of tools and support structures. So I also want to say, just as we start to wrap up, congratulations to Ranjana from Livable Arlington, down in Arlington, Texas, who's been working really hard on a campaign to prevent her city council from waiving protections, which would nearly double the density of fracking wells in her city. But she had a big victory last night, and the council voted against it, against the waiver. And that's she worked really hard on that. So congrats to her for that work. And that's one of the things I know Ranjana has been on the webinars before. So just if you're there, Ranjana, hi and congrats. And also, thank you so much, Sarah and Beth, for coming on, and thank you for all the hard work that you do on the registry. It really an incredible project. It's been really cool for me to learn about it, and there's a lot of people showed up today, so I know there's a lot of interest and discussion around this. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So the last thing that I'm going to say is for everybody here to check out halttheharm.net. That's the network website where you can find out about some of the shared tools in the network. There's a few hundred people from around. We actually just had like 2 or 3 people join from the UK, which was really kind of created some new technical problems for our map, but we'll fix that. But there's a really great network of people. You can find people by skills and interests. We're actually looking for somebody to work with us in Halt the Harm Network around social media. So if that's you, if you're interested in social media, get in touch with us, because our job essentially is to help support the campaigns and the services and the groups that are organizing on the ground. That's what we do, is we kind of do some of this technical stuff behind the scenes to help people connect with each other. On Fridays, we have welcome sessions. So we actually meet up in a video chat room, and we just connect and make friends and find out how we can support and help each other. We're going to start the welcome sessions again. You'll probably get an email about it because you joined. So I'll make sure to send you the replay, but also some information on how you can get involved in the network and add your profile. So thank you so much. And that's how we met. That's how I met Sarah, and now you, Beth. So.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So that wraps it up. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
One last thing. Is there anything besides joining the registry that you want to invite people to do to learn more or to plug in?
No, I mean, I would encourage people to go to our website and look around. We have a lot of materials. We're just beginning to work on a health impact assessment template. It's not available yet, but it will allow communities and local governments to work with us on a health impact assessment.
Nice.
So stay tuned for that.
Great. And you have an email list as well, don't you? We can sign up for.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Cool.
All right.
I'll see y'all later. See you at
Bye.
the next webinar. Bye.
All right. See ya. Thank you.